So first things first, I'll start with an introduction. My name's Denton Stephens. I'm the Director of Technology with C&B. So what I'm going to cover here today is, in the little bit of time we have, I wanted to really focus in on those spring 2025 updates when it comes to Operations Center. So we'll have some things on a new farm service crop reporting tool that's pretty handy for the upcoming season to get your acres reported. We've got some updates around boundaries, work planner, and then Op Center Mobile, just touching on a few things there to kind of tie it all in with a lot of the web stuff that we're talking about is also capable from the app, so you can take that with you anywhere. Okay, so first things first here, the Farm Service Agency crop reporting tool. So there's basically two parts to this. I'm going to cover this first one, which is in land. So under your setup tab in Op Center, you go to land, and then at the field level, so we are selected on one field and we're looking at field details. So on that left-hand side where I've got all my info for that particular field, you need to scroll down further, and then you can get into entering things like acreage details, your farm service number, legal descriptions, insurance unit, anything that relates back to that reporting at the FSA level. You can now document all of that in Op Center, and then the next page I've got here will show you what it looks like when you put that into a PDF. So this is the first step in going through each of your fields and saving that information. So that way, when we get to the part of generating that PDF report, now it's just pulling all that stuff from land that you had saved and documented, and it puts it into a slick PDF version that then you can take to FSA office, your insurance guy, whoever you need to report those acres to. It makes it super simple. You don't have your documentation in one place, and now you're going out to find all your legal descriptions. It just really makes that process a lot more seamless. Okay, so first we started in land. That's where you collect and save these details, and then you move into Work Analyzer. When the season's over, you've got all your documentation uploaded to Op Center, and that's where you're generating that report and sharing it out from there. Boundaries. So I like to start with, why should we care about boundaries? Why have them? If you don't have them today, why would I be interested in putting those into my operations center? And really it comes back to a lot of things. So first and foremost, accurate reporting. If you don't have good, accurate boundaries with the proper acreages, it throws everything off, from your reporting of FSA related things to some of those machine efficiencies. If you're looking at how, let's say, the combine operated last fall, it's going to throw those numbers off based on those acreages tied back to your boundaries. AutoPath is another one that requires boundaries. That goes hand in hand with auto track turn automation. So without good, accurate boundaries, your AutoPath is going to be off and your turn automation isn't going to work the way you want it to. Weather is the next one. So when you are on your map portion in Op Center on the web, any of those fields that have a boundary around them, you can then get weather reported for that particular field. Field detection is another part here that won't work without boundaries. So when you're using work plan and it's recognizing that you have entered the field, that's all based on a good boundary. And then logistics. This one is going to continue to grow more and more. So this upcoming fall, we've got grain harvest load weight sharing. So that's talking back and forth between the grain cart tractor and the combines, and they can then see what each of them have on as far as weight of grain. So the logistics side of this will continue to tie in things like connected semis, trips back and forth from either a co-op or your bin site, and then estimated time back to field, things like that. So that's all going to continue to build on itself here, but it's all based around those good boundaries that are in Op Center. Okay, a little bit on autonomy capable boundaries. So Jeff Perkins over on the other side of the room here might be touching a little bit on this in his autonomy session. I just wanted to cover it from a perspective a little more high level as far as what do you even need to record autonomy capable. So you'll need your Starfire 7000 or 7500, so either one of those will work to record. When it comes to running autonomy in the field, it's a 7500 that kind of trumps all. You need that one. But for the recording part of this, you can use either one of those. You have to be on radio RTK or SFRTK signal with a Gen 4 or a G5 display. So either one of those displays or command centers, so universal or command center, and then 24-2 or newer software. So you'll see as I go through a couple other slides here, now we're on to 25.1. So don't let the lingo confuse you there. They still kept the same numbering. They just went from a dash of the version to a dot of the version, basically. And then just a call out here in Operations Center, so you can see on the field details for each of those, you've got an autonomy capable section right there. This field in particular shows not capable. I won't get into all the details of what is required to happen when you're making that recording, but now you can see it right there in Op Center, whether you've got a boundary that you can use for autonomy moving forward, or if you need to possibly consider re-recording those if that's something that is in the future. And it is worth taking the time, if you're serious about your boundaries, the autonomy capable ones, just consider those your highest quality boundary that you can get. And moving forward, once you get those recorded once, as long as nothing changes with the field and you don't have to go back and change anything, you can use those year after year after year for multiple things. So it's worth spending a little extra time to make sure that you get those recordings done accurately. Okay, so again, with the 25.1 software update, so this is kind of tying Ops Center into what you'll see on the display. So with the 25.1 software update, the first top right screenshot here, you now get the signal accuracy as you're live recording that boundary, so you don't have to jump out of your recording to figure out what your signal was like as you're moving through the field, especially when you're going around, if they're going around like a grove of trees or something like that along a field edge where signal can kind of come and go. You can see right there, even if you drop 10%, you go down to 90%, you better move out a little bit away from those trees so that you maintain that good accuracy. So that's the first one here with the recording accuracy. And then further into that same run page, there's a details icon, and I apologize for a blurry screenshot here, but there's a details icon on that page for your boundary recording. And essentially what that does is give you the checklist of autonomy capabilities. So is my accuracy good? Am I driving the right speed? Have I not paused the boundary and unpaused within a certain distance? So it really helps you understand what might be missing from that recording. And then you can easily correct that out right there in the field while you're moving. Going back to Operations Center here, so one thing that Deere has brought back essentially is being able to create boundaries in bulk. So they used to have a tool or a feature on there that was called Bulk Boundary Creator. Essentially this is very similar to that, but you're going to be in your land tool. So again, we're under setup in your top menu there, and you go to land. And if I roll forward one here, if you haven't been in land in a minute, you come back in there now and you get this automatic pop-up that says, hey, here's a new feature. So if we were to go in and consider this, if you don't have boundaries today, the one caveat I will say is that don't expect these bulk created boundaries to operate if you need auto path, auto track turn automation. That level of accuracy will require the driven boundaries. So if you don't have anything in Op Center today and you just want to quickly put boundaries around all your fields, that's what this tool is for. So it'll allow you to select up to 12 fields at a time, so basically in batches, and then it's going to look for previous work. So if you've got harvest maps, if you've got seeding maps, you can select which one of those you want it to base that boundary off of, and then basically go through and get a preview of each of those. You can make some edits and customize things in there, but real simple, easy way if you don't have boundaries today to get them in there. Your lowest quality boundary is going to be hand-drawn in Operations Center. This would be the next step up from that because it's based off of previous coverage. You were in the field already. And then the best one is those ones that you've driven yourself. This is what it looks like if I was to hit that add button up there, and then I'm going to add a boundary to the field, and here's your new selection from previous coverage. Okay, moving on from boundaries to work planner. So the first call out here is that as of February 1, 24-1 or newer software is required for Work Planner to function with your Gen 4 or G5 displays. So if you're not on at least 24.1 for this upcoming spring and you want to use Work Planner with either one of those displays, it won't function until you get that update done. So two quick call outs on where you can easily find this in Operations Center. If you're in Work Planner and you hit Send to Equipment, it's going to tell you right there if that machine is compatible with Work Planner or if you need an update. The other spot you can find that is in your Equipment tab. So you go into Equipment, there's all your devices. You can see software versions, real quick and easy to figure out whether you need that update before you hit the field. So prescriptions. Couple things with prescriptions now, if you have them in Ops Center and you use them in Work Planner, if you're bringing new ones in or you're making new ones, they will automatically assign to that field. So it used to be that you had to go in to each field and assign that prescription, which was kind of a pain, just another step in the process, right? Now it recognizes where that prescription was made, it sees your field boundary and just ties them together. So there's a little bit less time spent in just marrying things up as far as that goes. There's also the option now when you are in Work Planner to create or upload a third-party prescription right from Work Planner. So you used to have to jump out and go into files if you were going to upload a new one. If you wanted to create one, it pulled you out entirely into a different site, and that was how you wrote that prescription through TELUS. And so now everything is just right there in the same spot. If you're looking at adding prescriptions to some existing fields that you've already got and you want some new ones in there, it's streamlined for having everything right in the same spot. And then your status indicator down here, I don't know that there's maybe a ton of value for everybody in this one, but what they did add was when you get those prescriptions uploaded, if it's not tied to a field yet, it's unplanned. If you've got it tied to a field, switches it to planned, and then as you go through the season and you've planted that field, it'll recognize that that was used and now it'll say executed. So just a little bit easier management of your prescriptions is what that one's all about. Okay, so here we are at 25.1 software again. How does that relate to Work Planner? So in the land tool, entrance flags, so your field entrance flags are something that are, a couple months old. Been in there for a little bit, but now they're adding more value to the 25.1 software side of things. So this top right screenshot here, I highlighted the window shade at the top because take, for example, you've just finished planting a field and you just have to go maybe a quarter mile down the road, something like that. You used to enter that new field and it would give you a big pop-up window and say, hey, you're in a new field, here's the new work plan. Now it recognizes that with those entrance flags that you've made it into a new field. It's just basically giving you a simple notification up there that, hey, we switched the work plan, you're ready to unfold the planner, do whatever you're doing, and just get straight to work. The other side of this is work instructions. So thinking back, and I'll have some screenshots on this in Ops Center Mobile, but when you are going in and putting work instructions in there, whether that's for you or it's going to one of your hired guys, something like that, when you go in and apply or save those work instructions, that now carries through all the way to if I'm generating a field level report in Field Analyzer, those work instructions have now become work notes. So if I need to go back and look, let's say 5 years down the road from now, what we did this year, saving and putting those instructions into the work plan just helps you understand what you're looking at as you move forward through each season. So now we're moving on to Ops Center Mobile, and we're going to stick with that whole plan idea that we're talking about here. So on your tabs on the bottom, right, you got 5 tabs, So your second one from the right is going to be that plan option when you're in the mobile app. So these are just screenshots to show that this is very similar to what you're going to be doing on the web. So you can type prescriptions in just like you can if you were on a computer, add all your varieties, all that good stuff. So it is literally the same thing, just in your pocket. And there's your work instructions there, just like we talked about on the last couple slides. So I'm going to go forward and then I'll come back to this one because now we're talking about a tank mix. So if I go back, this was a seeding work plan that I had made up just as an example. When I roll forward, now we've switched over to application and I built a tank mix. So I just put some example chemicals in here, but what I wanted to call out is that when you select a particular field in plan, you now have the option to view totals. So I switched this to product and chemical because it actually gives you the breakdown depending on what rate you're putting that out in the field. It'll look at how many acres you're covering, what your total tank mix volume is, all that good stuff, and it'll break down exactly what you need for that field. So you can see all that before you head out there. If we were to switch back here to the seeding side of things, I tried this the other day, and if I'm looking at my seeding plan and I come in and do this same thing, it'll give you a total, but it only gives you seeds. So that's not super helpful at this stage. Hopefully they get something like bags built into that because I think that would be a lot more handy than just seeing a total seed count. But on the application side of things, if you're going in and building your tank mixes, you can really easily get your totals for what each of those fields are. So now we're moving on to map. So we went from plan over on the right, moving to the left and selecting that map icon. One thing I will call out here, so before we went to map, we had a little yellow dot on there. That yellow dot means there's an update with that feature within the app. So when I go forward, that little yellow dot is gone because I clicked on map and that was the first thing that popped up. So it's going to tell me exactly what changed with that tool. So for map, with your connected machines like that combine in the middle there, I can now go back and view older work history. Ops Center Mobile used to just show you a 24-hour rolling window, essentially, especially for like JD Link movement. So now you can go back in your work history and select any day that you want to look at. So if you wanted to look at something 2 months ago and figure out exactly where that machine was and what fields it covered, you've got the functionality to do that, where you used to just have to go back to the web to do it before. Okay, so now we are all the way on the left-hand side, the icon, that's going to be your home area. So when you first get into home, I just wanted to call out the breakdowns that you'll get. So you got a daily summary if you've got machines out doing activity in the field that day. You've got a weekly breakdown, and then the weather is a little bit different from Ops Center Web because you can get field level weather when you've got boundaries around those fields. When you're in the app, it's just what your current location is. So like when I was doing this one, I was in T. If I was to pull that up standing here, it would give me weather for Baltic. But one call out, that little person head icon thing, whatever you want to call it up there, that's kind of the admin or support side of Ops Center Mobile. So when you get in there, you get all these choices in your drop-down menu. The one I clicked on was support. And then if I wanted to go back and see what those new features were, I hit what's new, and it'll relight those yellow icons on each of those tools. So if those disappear, you can get them back pretty easily. And then you've got some other support features here. The one thing I will mention on the feedback side of it is Deere is more and more taking it very, very seriously from the customer side, as far as if you guys have features or some issues with the app, especially using this side of the feedback tool, make sure that you just take a couple minutes and throw that in there. They may even reach out to you at some point from like an engineering standpoint and really figure out what you're after. But that feedback part of this is huge, and this whole tool and Ops Center on the web going towards being, valuable things that you guys can use in your operation. So make sure you're putting that feedback in if you get a chance. Release notes on Ops Center. So let's take this back to the web. If you're looking at your laptop and up to the top right, you've got this little question mark icon. When you're in a different tool, so as you navigate between each one, if it's got a new feature, it's going to pop up that little yellow icon just like we saw in the app. So if you see that new feature there, just drop your menu down, select your release notes. It's going to give you chronological order of what some of the updates were, what the latest is, and then it also gives you the option when you're in those release notes to subscribe. So Deere sends these out about a weekly basis, maybe every 2 weeks, with an email that just basically summarizes any tool in there that got an update and what that update was. So real quick and easy right to your email inbox. So make sure that you double check whether you're subscribed to those or not. But I just want to make sure I called out those release notes because they are super handy for staying up to date with all the changes. All right, and then last thing, Equipment Mobile. So we talked about Ops Center Mobile and that app. This is an app that pairs nicely right along with Ops Center. But this is going to be a little more focused on the equipment, I would say. So you got things like operators manuals, parts that are specific to your serial numbers. So you use the same login that you would for Operations Center Mobile, same login for Equipment Mobile, and then if it just pulls your equipment right over. So if you've got all that stuff in Ops Center Mobile already, this just pulls it right in. You've got, again, like I said, your parts specific to your serial numbers. You can track your maintenance through this app. You got some of the remote software updates that you can push. So on the customer side, there are select controllers that you can send a wireless update to if they're available. And then you can see your technology pairings. So what do I have for receivers and displays? What machines are they connected with? All of that is visible right here in this app. So make sure you have this one downloaded before you leave here today, just because it pairs so nicely with Ops Center Mobile.